things with me.
I'm also going to try to read really hard to keep my filter in place.
Your employee filter?
Yes, my employee filter.
I actually had to press that button here. I had to press the employee filter for you. Be like,
yes.
Amy's here, employee filter.
Yeah, it'll just be a lot of me going, and then...
And beep, 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 beep,
You are listening to the Compass Podcast. We navigate people to God each week by discussing the latest message from our series and hope you find the encouragement through the conversation.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Compass Podcast. And I know that if you've been following along with us, we've been in this series called Countdown to Christmas. We're very excited about this time of year as Texans because it is so dang hot most of the year here, and weather's finally cooled down. So excited that you're listening in and enjoying this cooler weather with us if you are local. And even if you're somewhere else, it's probably snowing right now. So congratulations on that. Hey, listen, today we're talking about cultivating joy. We listened to a great message on Sunday, and I have some of my very favorite people here on the podcast with me that just exuberate joy all the time. And I've got Sarah Lewis. Sarah's our Roanoke campus children's pastor. Sarah, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and then we also have Amy Weir, who's a part of our Rooted team. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
So excited you're here.
So excited to be here.
What's really funny is Amy and I used to work together because I was over Rooted for a year,
yeah.
A little over a year maybe. I'll just say a year.
A year.
Not exaggerate it.
A little over. It was a year.
It's only a year. I don't remember.
It was good.
It was a great time.
Yes.
And we had so much fun together because it was a crazy time. A lot of things were going on. And it was almost like we had to just be funny all the time.
Yes.
And so, and Sarah, you are always joking around. You're very witty.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
It is. It's a really good thing. And I thought when I saw this, I was like, oh, I got to get Sarah Lewis and Amy Weir on this podcast for this episode because, there's always laughing when you guys are around. And I love laughing. I love comedy. And I know you all do too. So this is going to be really fun. So thanks for being here. Now, we did this, like I said, we're in our series Countdown to Christmas. We've been talking about these different candles. And, we have these candles right here on the table. You can't see them, but we've got an actual traditional Advent, candle thing on this table, which I didn't grow up. Did you guys grow up with any of the Advent stuff?
A little bit. We didn't do like where there was a traditional ceremony of lighting the candle every Sunday, but no.
Did you all do this at all?
I did, only because Nathan, my husband, his dad has been a senior pastor, and he is very into the Advent season. And so he taught us this back when I was in middle school or high school.
Really?
Yeah. So I was shocked. We actually talked about it a little bit at our campus, and there were several who had never even heard of it. And that shocked me because I've just known for so long. So
they were like, I thought it was just a chocolate calendar.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Yeah. When we said Advent, I was like, I just, I do
my
the
favorite time of year.
Yeah. Yes, I can eat chocolate. Ugh. Well, where are you from? I'm trying to remember, Sarah, where you're from.
So I was born and raised in Houston. My father-in-law was the senior pastor of Cy-Fair Christian Church in Houston for 22 years.
Yeah.
And my family started going there in 6th grade. We did a lot with Highland Meadows growing up. So we went to Tanglewood Christian Camp together and CIY together. So I've known Compass for forever, it feels like.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever run across Laura Collins at all?
Not Laura, but Landon Sherman I have.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Him and all his friends in middle school camp, I was like, oh, Lord, help their parents.
And now he's a pastor.
And I work with him, which is just wild.
Did you think that you would be a pastor someday? I mean, was that something where you're like, no?
Oh, no. Mm-mm. I'm also a pastor's wife, so I like
That's
that.
true, yeah.
I feel comfortable doing that. I never thought I'd end up in ministry. I went to school to be a middle school math teacher.
Oh,
so
really?
And I did that for a while, but stayed home for a while, and the Lord just very clearly called me to children's ministry. I didn't even grow up in a children's ministry, so here I am.
Oh wow, I didn't. Yeah,
yeah,
because you started going to church in middle school.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, you're doing good.
Thanks.
Great work.
Thanks.
Look at you.
I know.
And now you're on this podcast with us.
Proof positive that the
going up.
Lord exists, you guys.
And Amy, you're from Texas originally.
Yes, I'm from South
as
Dallas.
well.
Yes.
South Dallas.
Yes,
That's right.
Duncanville. Shout out.
Duncanville. I've been in Duncanville one time, and very beautiful. I mean, there's actually terrain down in
Yes, it's pretty.
Duncanville.
Very pretty. It was a great place to grow up.
Yeah. And you guys didn't do the Advent thing.
No, I grew up in the Baptist church, and so I don't know if it was just our church or if that's a denominational thing, but we just never, not that I can remember, ever
Yeah.
did that.
Wow. Yeah, we'd never
Yeah.
done it.
We had, so we did like this foreign mission fundraising push
Yeah.
in Christmas called the Lottie Moon Christmas Offering. 'Cause
Lottie Moon?
Lottie Moon was a female missionary in like the late 1800s who went to China to, evangelize in China.
Yeah.
And spent her whole life. She was actually pretty amazing and fought really hard for gender equality and stuff like that. It was
Okay.
really awesome. And so we would raise money the SBC would raise money for foreign missions in December. And so we had like a wreath that every time $100 would come in, that we would light up a light bulb on the wreath. And so that was kind of our big.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
I like that.
It was very sweet. Yeah.
That's really cool, though, that you guys did that. We didn't do anything like that in the churches I grew up in. Like those extracurricular traditional things. So when we talked about this, I was like, I may have seen that on a table somewhere growing up, but
Yeah.
we're on the joy candle today.
Yay.
Yay.
The joy candle. And I would love to ask, who is someone you would consider a life-giving relationship, but maybe it's past, present, maybe they've even passed on. Who is that person? And, what is it about them that is joyful and life-giving?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I can think of lots of people, but the person that sticks out in my mind the most is we have a friend that we made in North Carolina. His name's Mitchell, and he just never meets a stranger. He's just always smiling. He is so enthusiastic and just fun. And even like when you get to know him, you realize like, wow, he really has hard days. But you would never know it by just how he carries himself, how he treats other people. He's just so joyful. Like it just exudes off of him. And when you're around him, you leave going, that was so much fun. Like I just had such a good day. Like I can't wait to do that again. I can't wait to hang out with Mitchell again. He's just such a life-giving person to be around. And so, yeah, he's one that comes to mind really quickly.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I always love having those people around, those like magnetic personalities. You want to keep those people around you.
Yeah.
They're positive. They're ready to, they're like, there's a couple guys in my life that at the drop of a hat, they're like, let's go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, these are the people I like to keep around. They keep life interesting, but they can also speak life into you.
Exactly.
Into you.
Like, if you ever make friends that are out of state and they come visit, there's a few of them where they're like, hey, I'm coming back in town. Would love to get together. And you're like, yeah,
sure.
But
Mitchell,
Nathan and I are like, well, check on calendars. Mitchell, Nathan and I are like, we will literally cancel anything if you come in town to visit, just because he's just one of those people where you just leave feeling so good about life and yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's great.
What's the connection to North Carolina?
So we lived there from 2017 to the beginning of 2019, right before we moved here. So Nathan was the campus pastor at a church there in North Carolina, and Mitchell attended that church. So that's where we got to know him.
That's how you got to know him.
Yeah.
I love that state.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Mountains and beaches, like 3 hours.
Yeah, but also snow.
You don't like snow?
No.
Oh,
I mean, I'll
love
visit
snow.
the snow. I don't want to live in the snow. No
Oh,
way,
yeah.
Jose. The last winter we were there, it snowed 16 inches overnight, and I looked at Nathan and I was like, we got to get out of here. I can't do this anymore.
Texas it is.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Well, what about you, Amy? Who's somebody in your life?
Well, my group of girlfriends, they are chef's kiss.
Oh, that's right. You've got like a
have a
really
great
tight-knit group.
Yes. Yes.
of ladies.
Yes.
fun.
It's all of my youngest son's friends' parents.
Yeah.
And we just do life together. And every time I leave them, I am energized and they're just spectacular. But if I had to pick one person, it would be my Aunt Joyce. So she has sadly passed on. It was my mom's sister. She was a little bitty thing, like 4'11", but she was full of joy, never met a stranger. She traveled the world,
Yeah.
and she had tons and tons of health problems, but she was still just always so full of joy, so full of happiness. That's who, like, when I think of joy, I think of Aunt Joyce. Aunt Joyce.
Yes.
It's in her name. So.
Joyce. Joyce.
Yes. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Does your group have a name? I feel like
Yes,
a lot of
we do.
of groups of ladies have like their own little name. My
They're going to be
mother-in-law.
so excited for me to
This
shout
is
them
great.
out.
My mother-in-law has the same sort of thing. Like she's got a really tight knit group, but they're called the Yayas.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, she'll be like the Yayas and I went to this, did this trip
Yes.
together. We went on a sailboat and we, drank wine. It was wonderful. And it's just like, yeah, that sounds like something the Yayas would probably do. What are you all?
We're called the Cowbells.
Which, if you've ever gone to a football game with them, you know why.
So
there's always cowbells.
we
involved.
never met
Oh, yeah.
a cowbell that we didn't love. No, we all kind of grew really close in freshman football.
Yeah.
And we just ring our cowbells really loud. We're very passionate about sports and football and baseball. So that in my phone it says cowbells. When Bergen says, "Where are you going?" I say, "I'm going out with the cowbells." Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
I know, it's
fantastic.
weird,
No,
but-
it's not weird. I love that.
Welcome
Very
to
Texan.
Texas.
Is that right?
No, it's very Texan.
That's fantastic.
I know, they came to a football game, and I was like, "Oh, I hope I don't get fired."
No.
Because we're very intense.
No, my kids took those cowbells home that you gave them, and I told them the rules of the cowbells. I'm like,
There's
these are
rules with the cowbells?
Yeah, don't do them inside. They're so loud. I was like,
Yes.
you can ring these outside all you want, all day long. Don't do them inside.
Well, the message on Sunday was all about joy. And, we're in this Christmas season now. And, I don't know what your thoughts were on the message, but I would love to know, as you interact with others in the church and in the broader community, do you see joy? Do you see joyful people as you are going out places?
Well, it's
ahead.
funny that you mentioned this because before Thanksgiving, I was at Hobby Lobby, which I'm not a crafter. So that I walk into that place and I'm immediately stricken with like paralysis. I
Yeah.
just can't make a decision. But there were so many Grinches in there at the Hobby Lobby and at Trader Joe's. I was like, God, y'all, we haven't
Oh,
even gotten to
man.
Christmas.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I'm just going to walk around with a big dumb smile on my face.
It's
Just because
Shine grin.
yeah, I'm going to look insane, but
Yeah.
this is sad. Like, I think that people just feel so much pressure this time of year. And, I'm like, well, we're making a big feast. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
We're going to decorate our house with all kinds of things from Hobby Lobby. Like, that's a blessing. Like, these are good
Live,
things.
laugh, love.
Yes.
All of
Yes.
them probably live,
Yes.
laugh, love in their grocery carts.
Yeah, buy that stuff and put it in your house and smile about it. Like God has
Yeah.
blessed you if you have disposable income to buy junk at Hobby Lobby and put
Yes.
in your house. Like God is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it just depends on the year, maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
Like, I feel like everybody was super joyful a couple years ago coming out of COVID because they were just ready to come out of COVID and see people. But I feel like in the hustle and bustle of the holidays, it just
Yeah.
strips people of joy. Where others, I don't know, I feel like you find what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you're looking for people who are joyful, you'll probably see them. And I think one thing that I always have to ask myself too is, am I being a Grinch? Like, am I
Yes.
practicing joy in the hustle and bustle of the holidays? Because if I'm not, then why should I even look for people who are,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
100%, because it's, what you're emulating is what you'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's contagious. Not to sound like
It
Buddy the
is.
Elf, but smelling's contagious.
Yeah.
Buddy
My
the Elf.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is. And, like I'm with you when we're at the store or something. Like Nathan and I don't know what we were thinking. We went to South Lake on Black Friday.
Oh, bless.
No.
I mean, we didn't have children with us. They were at my parents' house staying the night. So it was like, freedom.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's go to South Lake on Black Friday. Dumb. But anyways, we did. And it was so crowded. I've never seen South Lake so crowded.
All those non-existent Black Friday deals were
Holy
beckoning
moly.
you.
I'm like, do people not shop online anymore? Like, why are there
Yeah.
people
Not have the internet?
I was just trying to walk around. Like, come on. Anyway, so there was people everywhere. But I will say, most of them they seemed joyful. Like they seemed excited to be
Yeah.
out and find Black Friday deals. Most of them were together with their family. And there was people everywhere and people were running into each other because it was so crowded. There was a line like down the street for Bath and Body Works of all places, but nobody was getting ugly with each other.
That's good.
Nobody was fighting over things. It felt like there was no trampling happening, praise the Lord. But it was fine. I don't know. I feel like I felt joyful. I was excited to be
Yeah.
there, and so I think I viewed it a little bit differently being there.
Gratitude is everything.
Gratitude is everything. And it has been, Sarah does this great thing where Sarah Lewis is here. I'm talking about my wife, Sarah, sorry. My wife, she's very good at doing this thing where when things break or whatever, she just says, hey, that's God's thing. Like our garage door has broken just about every semester with Rooted that I've been involved in it. And which is just crazy, the timing of that. But she's like, hey, that's God's garage door, not ours. So I've had to like kind of have a paradigm shift mentally to say, this is God's thing, not my thing. And it's for his to deal with. And that interestingly brings joy into my life.
That's really good.
Changes that sort of perspective. But, it's interesting because the message on Sunday completely emphasized how we have to anchor ourselves in, they said, the promises, the purposes, and the presence of God to find joy. Like you have to find that in those areas, promises, purposes, and presence of God. So I guess the question is, how do you see these principles applicable in your roles at Compass and also in your, in your personal lives?
Yeah, I have to find solitude with the Lord frequently,
Yeah.
and just get away and in the quiet because life is so busy. I mean, we've got 2 young boys, 4 and 8, and they're going in 2 different directions.
Yeah.
And they need me when I get home. And so I can't really rest at home well until they're asleep. And so I have to really be careful about how am I filling our calendar? How am I creating space to spend time with Jesus?
Yeah.
Because that is where my joy comes from. It's not in my circumstances because circumstances sometimes are terrible. And so, I have to be very careful, especially working at the church. I think a lot of people see church work as like this, grand thing. And it is, it's a high holy calling, but it still is hard. Like it's very hard. And so, some days are not joyful because of the things that you are having to help people through. And it starts to weigh heavy on you on these burdens that people have and you're helping walk through them with them. It may not be your situation, but you feel saddened by them. And so having to just hit a reset a little bit on like, okay, where am I at with Jesus? How am I spending time? How am I letting him fill me back up versus, playing on my phone or whatever. I think social media has ruined us a little bit in that.
Sure.
So,
there's a lot of the message on Sunday. We talk about this concept of joy killers, and there's like negative people, right? Looking at me right here. Negative people, comparison, and uncertain futures. So, how do you navigate these joy killers in your daily life?
Well, for me, joy is something that I fight for daily. My mom, and she has since passed away, but when she was in the final stages of her life, she had a lot of things happen to her. And the one thing that she said is my joy is gone. Like her joy was gone. It was gone for a solid 5 years. It was really, really sad to watch. And that has just really stuck with me. I don't ever want that to happen to me. And so it's an actual choice that I have to make every single day, because we all have our own struggles and stuff. And, I've struggled with depression and anxiety and things like that. And so it's just it's a conscious effort for me every day to choose joy, to be joyful about even when things are hard. Just to always, it always goes back to gratitude.
Yeah.
You just being grateful for what you have. There's always something to be grateful for. And the more gratitude you practice, the more joyful you become, because it's absolutely a choice. So.
That's good. What
Yeah,
about you, Sarah?
I agree. I think sometimes we go off of our feelings so much, and
Yes.
sometimes those joy killers can make us feel a certain way. And one of the things that I've learned throughout the years is that like feelings are just fleeting. They're not facts. And so joy is a choice, and your feelings and how you tell yourself to feel, that can change by how you choose to feel. And so if you choose to feel joyful in the midst of whatever is going on, then you can. It's a choice. And, I think, like Amy said, just waking up every day and making that choice. I am not going to find joy in how I feel today. I'm going to find joy because I know that I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z that I have in my life. I think that's a game changer for sure for joy killers.
And I think even sometimes, like when I've been in the midst of some pretty dark times, it has to be as basic as, I'm thankful for air conditioning or, just,
The little things.
the little things
Yeah.
that we take for granted. That's what got me out of darkness pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And I try and journal every day just on how I'm feeling or whatever, so I don't explode on someone. And one of the things that I started doing is at the start of my journaling, and I do it in the morning, is I try and write 3 things that I'm grateful for, but they have to be 3 very small details that I know I am grateful for, but to other people, they'd be like, really? Not things like my family. Like, of course I'm grateful for those, but very small things. Like, I'm grateful that I got a book from the library and I didn't have to pay for it, like something silly like that. But I intentionally know that that's coming. And so guess what I do the day before? I better remember 3 things that I'm grateful for that are very small, that may not stand out, like family or my job or whatever. And so it's those things that if you look for them, you'll find them. And so, yeah, it just keeps me on track with making sure that I'm staying grateful for the little things.
That's good.
You guys have maybe a story that you'd like to share, a personal experience where you found unexpected joy amidst a really challenging circumstance?
Well, the thing I can think of the most when my kids were little, so I haven't always worked in the church. I was in sales for like 20, 25 years. And so I did a lot of traveling. And we got to this point in my husband was traveling and I was traveling and our kids were little. And so I kind of backed off my traveling. And we had this summer, and so I was home a lot. And so we had this summer, and my kids were little, like elementary school and preschool. And my husband worked for a big media company, and he had just taken on this new role. And so they owned a lot of TV and radio stations. So he had to travel to visit all these stations.
Yeah.
He was gone basically the whole summer. It was really
I
hard
was like, that sounds so hard.
because it was summer.
Yeah, with 2 small kids.
Yes.
It's fine.
And a Texas summer too,
Yeah.
right? So
God.
And
inside all the time.
About 2 weeks into it, I was really mad about it. I was really, really mad about it. And at one point, I guess God spoke to me and was like, listen, this is not going to change. So you can either be mad about it or you can accept it and have fun and have joy in it. Because
Yeah.
either way, this is how it's going to be. Like your husband's going to be gone for this time. Your kids are going to be hard for this time. So, either look at it with joy or look at it with anger. And what's easier? and joy is by far easier than just being mad about it the whole
Yeah.
time. And so that has kind of stuck with me through our different seasons, because my kids are much older now and stuff. But your situation sometimes is not going to change. And so it's your outlook on it has to be focused on the good and not the evil parts of it, of being home with your kids.
It's very difficult to do that too.
Yeah. But that was just the big thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to change. So your attitude has to. So
That's good.
Yeah. When we were in North Carolina, it ended pretty abruptly. So towards the end of 2018, out of nowhere, the church let Nathan go. And I was a stay-at-home mom, so there goes our money.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I was also 3 months away from having Brooks, our youngest. I know I have a Brooks. Brooks has a Sarah. It's very
It's
confusing.
very confusing. Sorry, everybody. Listen, we are so
I
sorry.
have a 4-year-old son named Brooks, and and I was 3 or 4 months away from having him, and the church lets Nathan go out of nowhere. And it was scary. It was really scary. I mean, we're in North Carolina. We're not by any family, and what are we going to do now? And thankfully, they continue to pay him through the end of December. But I mean, I didn't know what to do. But the weirdest thing is that I had this unbelievable amount of peace that came over me whenever he told me the news. I mean, I had to console him. He was very upset, obviously, and we had to figure a lot of things out, and it was not easy every day. But I had this unbelievable amount of peace that if the Lord could basically take away this season of life that we so enjoyed. I mean, we loved our time in North Carolina. We made some great friends. I just talked about Mitchell. If he was taking that away from us for some reason, he must have something so much better for us.
Yeah.
And we ended up at Compass and found that to be true. But in the moments, it was every day we woke up okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to make this work? Where is Nathan going to work next? Are we going to have to move? What does this look like? I mean, I'm about to have another baby. It was so wild to look back and think. But every day I woke up and I'm I have my husband here. We played cards almost every day, all day, because when he wasn't applying for jobs, we were hanging out together and playing cards and taking advantage of our time together. And so I found so much joy in that season of just turmoil, of confusion and unknown, because we got to spend so much quality time together as a family that we probably won't ever get that again. And so while it was scary, it was also so much fun and so full of joy. In the moment, I don't know that I would have seen it that way, but looking back on it now, I realize wow, that was a fun season actually. It was hard, but it was fun. And I woke up every day feeling so excited about what card game we were going to play next. How can I ruin you today in cards? But it was just, it was a joyful season too, even in the midst of the scary.
Yeah. And I know you missed that snow.
Oh,
It's
God.
that snow too.
Yeah, I don't miss the snow, man. I'll visit it, but I don't want to live there.
It's interesting. You look at the news, you look at everything going on in the world right now, which, I mean, one of you would just mention, man, social media is just not.
Social media.
What are you seeing right now with social media? I mean, as our children's pastor for one of our campuses, I mean, can you speak a little bit into that? What are you seeing with it, and what's it doing?
Yeah, I think sometimes social media is a highlight reel of everyone's life, right? So first of all, it's the comparison game.
Yeah.
Of wow, look at their life, and it's hold on a second, that's what they chose to show you. That's a very small snippet of their life. That's not even a good reflection of what's actually going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I think there's that aspect of it. I also think there's the aspect of it where people can become keyboard warriors, where they just attack via keyboard and they don't actually know how that's affecting someone in the real world. And so I think they call them the trolls, the trolls of social media, they can really ruin things. And that's scary to me that, my kids are going to have to navigate that at some point. And so I think while social media is good, I think sometimes it's not social. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just a comparison game, or it's just a bashing session, or all these bad things. Or it's a time where you can air your political grievances, or whatever. And I think it becomes dangerous territory for our souls on how we view ourselves, on how we view the world, on how we view other people. It's rough.
Incredibly
I can't imagine
addicting.
trying to parent little kids. Like, I just remember trying to keep up enough when my kids were little and we didn't have the internet. But like, I see all these little moms on there and they're doing all these things for their kids. And I'm like, God, there are moms at home that are barely surviving the day, and then they've got to get on their phone and scroll through and see all this
Pinterest lunch. Like, come
yes,
on.
the immense pressure to keep up is just, it's heartbreaking.
I saw a reel yesterday, and the mom was like, recording the video with the voiceover, and she was showing her kids, and she was like, I don't like it when my kids are bored. So, and then she had like all these activities for them. So we buy this and this and this and this and this and all these different things. And it just was like overwhelming me watching that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
No.
There was a split second where I was like, my poor kids, they don't have anything. They've got like,
exactly.
you
Because
know,
you're like,
but-
oh, I've got to get them all these things.
yeah.
And
And it was just like, no, they're fine.
yeah, back in the 80s, if you were bored,
Oh yeah.
you'd figure it out.
I reflect on my childhood because my mom kicked me out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
And all I had was my bike.
Don't go
Yeah.
home till dark.
No, that was my mom.
Yeah.
It was, and she said we were allowed to come home for lunch during the summers. And then if we weren't home by dinner, we didn't eat.
Yeah.
Like that was her thing.
Yeah.
She was so tired of waiting for us to get home. She's like, you don't eat if you don't. So we had to make sure we were back at home by 6 o'clock for dinner, or we missed it.
Those were good times.
They were good times. And I didn't have a phone till college. When was the first cell phone you got?
I got
Sarah?
like a pay-as-you-go phone when I was 15 or 16,
Yeah.
only because I was in extracurriculars and I paid for it with my own babysitting money because my parents wouldn't buy me a phone. Well, then I went through a season where I was so busy with extracurriculars I couldn't babysit, so the minutes stopped because I couldn't pay for them.
Okay.
My mom's like, how am I supposed to get in touch with you? I'm like, yeah, buy me a phone.
Yeah, Mom.
Get on board, mother. But so I think I was like 15 or
15?
16. Yeah.
Well,
But I'm a little scared.
You're going to ask the old
I
lady.
want to know, Amy. I want to know.
No, actually, I got one when I went to college. My dad bought me a bag phone
A bag phone.
What?
because I went to college in West Texas. And there was literally nothing between
Oh, yeah.
Dallas and Abilene. And so,
It's desert.
yeah. And so he was really concerned about me being on the road in my, Toyota or my Nissan Sentra.
Oh, see, I imagined you like in a convertible.
No.
Like with the roof down driving through
I
the desert
wish.
to West Texas with your like giant cell phone.
No, but it was a
Call-
a bag. It was awesome.
Call them the cowbells.
Yes, call them the cowbells. Yeah. So I was 18, I guess. I was a trendsetter.
That's good. I didn't get one until my sophomore year of college.
Wow.
I held off.
That is
And then I was
impressive.
like, I got like the QWERTY keyboard and stuff. The flip. It's called the Rumor, I think is what it was called. Do you remember
Oh,
that?
fancy.
Yeah,
Nope.
fancy. No.
Like a sidekick?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
And my roommate had a candy bar. They called it the candy bar. It was a real thin one.
Oh, yeah, the chocolate one.
That was
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Chocolate.
Yeah, I was jealous.
He
My
had
friend
that.
had one of those. I was like, oh, that's,
awesome.
a
He-
sweet phone.
and
I had
he
a
could-
razor.
And he could put his music in it too.
Yeah.
You could put your music in the chocolate.
Uh-huh. The first
Dang.
phone that I had, the first cell phone had no camera. Like you had to buy an attachable camera.
My phone was
Is
in a
that
bag.
right?
Just to reiterate.
Yes.
I think it had like a 45-minute charge. It was in a bag. It wasn't as like 80s as like Zach Morris phone from
Right.
Saved by the Bell, but it was in a bag.
Well, you look out on the world, and I was going to ask this originally. We started about cell phones. Sorry. You look out on the world, and there's still a lot going on, and people are scared. People are wondering, what is happening in the world, economically, and all these different things. And what would you guys think is like? How can people find and share joy in the midst? I mean, we talk about like being thankful and grateful for the little things, but I think as believers, one of the things that we want to do as the church is, and something that brings us joy, is being generous, right? A lot's going on in the world. What have you focused on to kind of, say, yeah, there's a lot of conflict globally, but here's how I'm contributing to bringing peace and joy into the world.
Well, something I did when my kids were younger, and applicable now, and is we would have like, I don't know, like 10 or 15 things that we wanted to do to kind of like spread joy. We would like take quarters in Ziploc bags and tape them to the vending machine. Or we'd hang a candy cane with a little sweet note on car doors at the grocery store. We would take like hot chocolate to the guy ringing the Salvation Army bell. Just things like that just trying to teach my kids that paying it forward is, doing things for people brings you joy because you're bringing somebody else joy and meeting their needs. And so in turn, it just makes you feel joyful to know that you've made somebody happy.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll pay it forward.
And then I think too, just not turning on the news.
Yeah.
Just limiting your news intake.
Yeah.
Our bodies are not designed to hold on to everybody's trauma that we get inundated with, either on the news or on social media. I mean, God did not design our bodies for that, our brains for that. And so we have to be selective with what we ingest when it comes to media. And I'm not saying I do like to kind of bury my head in the sand and pretend like everything's fine. But I'm not saying that you need to do that, but just limit it. Don't ingest so much news that it's just all that you think about and that it becomes a heavy, heavy burden.
Yeah. I think too, sometimes as parents, it's like keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. Like you were talking about with social media is like, it's hard at Christmas time with your kids of like, I want this and I want that and I want this and I want that. And so trying to teach them that it's not about that. And, Compass is doing Christmas Wish this season. And I think for my kids anyway, they were excited to go pick something out for a little boy their age, and just give this gift. And do you think he would like this? Do you think he likes Paw Patrol? I don't know. And so having that in the forefront of like, how can I teach my kids and not continue the terrible generational aspect of this? Like, how can I teach my kids to be joyful in this season of like giving to others? Like you said, is good. It's fun. But I think too, the other thing, I heard this a long time ago, but like joy is not found in the absence of chaos. It's found in the presence of peace. Mm. And so I think sometimes we get so consumed with the chaos and, it's not about the absence of that. There's going to be chaos no matter what. Joy is found in the presence of peace, and peace is a person, peace is Jesus. And so how do you live that way every day? How do you choose to stay in the presence of peace? I think that's super important.
Yes.
And also in the generosity aspect, if you're not staying in there, you're not going to think about generosity. Like it's just not going to be
true.
You're going to think about all the bills you got to pay with the Christmas presents and all the other things. And so, staying in the presence of peace.
Teaching your kids, like taking them out shopping, is teaching them that not everybody's whim is just put in front of under a tree every Christmas. Like some kids, that's all they'll get, is that one thing. And so it helps start a tradition of gratefulness with your children as well, that, by providing for other people.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I don't go thrift store shopping with my kids. I'll go on my own, but it just sounds like a terrible idea to take my children. But Bennett was off, my oldest, he's 8. He was off of school during Thanksgiving. And so I was like, hey buddy, let's just stop in. I want to see if they have something here. And so we went to the Christ Haven resale store over in Keller. Mm-hmm. And I love Christ Haven. I love what they do. Anytime I try and donate stuff, I always try and take it there just because I feel like it's going towards something that I know is working in our community. And he had never been. And it was like, whoa. And so it was a great teaching moment for us of like, what is this for? And he saw a bunch of stuff for 50 cents and he's like, well, mommy, if this is going for that, like they've really got to raise their prices or they're not going to make any money. And he's such
a little businessman in the making.
That's how my oldest thinks. But it was such a good moment of teaching as a parent in this. I mean, we had just come from a store where he complained the whole way to the car that I did not buy him anything. And then we go to this thrift store and have this conversation about, well, buddy, people donate things. And he's like, so when you donate my toys, this is where you're bringing it. And I'm like, yes. And then they turn around and sell it. And the money that they make from that, they give to Christ Haven. And so I was telling him about Christ Haven. He's like, well, that's really cool. And I'm like, yeah, so maybe don't complain when we walk out of the next
Please
store.
don't.
And so I think, like you said, just getting your kids involved, and don't be afraid to have those conversations. There may be a meltdown. They may not totally understand, but take them shopping and buy them a gift for an angel tree kid. Don't do it just at Christmas time. Do it all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think kids, they're hard, but
Absolutely.
they're little
Especially
sponges.
when they see like the Christmas wishes and there's an 8-year-old boy who wants a pillow,
Yeah.
Or socks, things that our kids just take for granted and we take for granted, you know.
Teaching
It's
them
very
gratitude.
humbling.
You have to teach them gratitude.
Super humbling to see some of these Christmas wishes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we close out here, what would you like to leave our listeners with today when it comes to joy throughout the season and throughout the year?
Yeah. I would say to allow yourself to feel joy. I love Brene Brown. She's like one of my favorite people to listen to and learn from. She's so good. If you're not familiar with Brene Brown, she's amazing. She loves Jesus. She does say some interesting flaring words. Just be aware.
Choice words.
Choice words.
Yeah.
But she's so full of wisdom. She really studies vulnerability and emotions and all these things. And one of the things that she talks about all the time is that joy is one of the most vulnerable emotions that you can feel. And the reason why is because if you allow yourself to feel joy, that means you also have to allow yourself to possibly lose joy. And so I think sometimes we don't always allow ourselves to feel joy in the moments that we should feel joy.
Yeah.
Because what if the other shoe drops? What's going to happen next? What if this gets taken? Is this really going to, is this true? Is this really good news? Something's bound to go wrong, And so I think sometimes we might experience a joy moment, but not allow ourselves to step into it fully because we're scared of what if it goes away or what if this is not real, And so I would say to allow yourself to feel joy, even in the little things of oh my gosh, I remembered to buy that at the grocery store. I thought I forgot. Yay, go me, little things, allow yourself to feel joy because it can be a very vulnerable emotion to feel. And so, look for the joy and allow yourself to be joyful.
I love that. Thank you so much, Sarah.
So
great.
good.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can follow that. I just think that in this particular time of the year when, things, it's hard. I just turned 50 last month. Or
What?
This month.
Never know.
Yeah.
I
No.
Yes.
No.
I know. I was
2 weeks
shocked when
ago.
she told me she was turning 50. I was like, you're
No.
lying.
I have really good genes. My mom's skin was spectacular. But, it's really hard when you're in the middle of your life to look back and things aren't the way they used to be. My parents are both gone and, Christmas is it's just not the same as it was in the 80s and the 90s or the 70s or whatever. And it's hard for that. It's a season of loss. I miss my parents. I miss Aunt Joyce,
Joy.
Yes. And so I just think that it's trying to be very much in the moment, finding things that bring you joy, whether it's music or watching your favorite Christmas movie or just your favorite movie or, enjoying the twinkle lights that are as you're driving through your neighborhood. Just really try to focus on stuff like that. And I would say for the next 30 days, get a little binder out or a little notepad out and start writing down those 3 things that you're grateful for every day. Because there's a lady I follow on Instagram who lives over in Dallas, and her tagline is submit something you're thankful for because happiness begins with gratitude. Shout out to Turtle Creek Lane. I'd want to make sure that
following her.
isn't she's
She exudes joy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
her whole
Turtle
family
Creek Lane.
Turtle Creek
Yeah.
Lane, and I want to give her props if you're on Instagram
like
to
the
go
name.
follow her because she's
She's a joyful account.
a very joyful account, and she's kind of helped oddly enough, this lady on Instagram has helped me to shape my belief on joy and stuff through gratitude. And so I just think to take the time when you're doing your Advent, when you open up your little Advent calendar and get your piece of chocolate, write down 3 things that you're thankful for that day, and just watch how your attitude and your perspective of life just changes when you focus on the little things that you're grateful for.
That's so good. Well, thank you so much for being on the episode today as we talked about joy. This was awesome.
was fun.
This was so much
great
fun.
episode. So much fun. We'll definitely have you on again, but I hope you have a very awesome Christmas, and we'll see you both really soon.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you for listening in on this episode of the Compass Podcast. Remember that every Monday we will launch a new episode. We look forward to seeing you, and make sure you subscribe.